that stuff a lot. It's still pretty early, but anything striking to you so far? I'm looking at some of the two-man stuff, and it's like CP obviously kind of jumps out. Anything kind of interesting for you that you're underlining on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always try to make sure that we get a big enough sample size before we jump to any conclusions. But we've been looking at the three-man lineup groups. I think the way I look at our team right now, I really like the roster. I think we have a lot of guys who can play. I think we have really, 12, 13 guys who could all be in the rotation. I don't know that we have roster clarity yet, if that makes sense. So I like every player. I think we have a lot of good players, but we still haven't sort of figured out how to use them all and which combinations, because we are seeing some numbers that are meaningful, but we also have to give it a little time.
Just if you look at it, Chris is helping the starter group and helping the second unit. Is there a little push-pull of that? Like, which side do you commit on, or you try to break it down equally? How is that discussion going?
Well, that's a good problem to have. Like, no matter who we put with Chris, generally it works. So he's been fantastic as a starter or off the bench, and it's really more about who we put with him, especially off the bench. I'd like to get our first group from the last couple of years. Now that they're healthy, I'd like to get them some reps together. Let's get them back into a groove, and then we can figure out the bench rotation from there. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this.
It seems like Brandin plays a lot with either Chris or Steph on the floor, more of a ball handler too. Do you see Brandin as more of a two guard, a point guard, maybe down the road? What do you see him as far as his guard position, I guess?
What I love about Brandin is that he's just a guard. Like, some guys are strictly point, some guys are strictly he's a guard. He can play either spot. He connects any group that he plays with.
And how do you kind of talk with him about staying aggressive offensively while also being within the offense, especially as a rookie too, maybe someone who's, not trying to prove himself too much, but kind of just find the balance with him?
I think this is all a natural part of being a rookie is, figuring out your place in the league, figuring out your identity as a player, and then learning how to kind of leverage your game to be able to attack well. So, I'm a baseball fan. It's like you got to use your fastball to set up your other stuff. And I think with Brandin, he's got like 5 different pitches, but he's got to learn to sequence them. He's a really good shooter. I think he shot 43% from 3 last year at Santa Clara. But being able to count on that consistently, that should be his fastball. He should think, I'm going to knock down the shot if it's open, because he's got all kinds of other options at his disposal, the way he attacks closeouts, the way he passes the ball, the way he cuts. But he's still, in the early stages of kind of establishing his identity as a player.
One more Brandin question. He had that big game, I think, against the Timberwolves where he scored 23, and you said he's playing. And he's played more, obviously, the last 5 or 6. How do you feel like he's played these last 2 weeks, I guess?
I think he's played well. He's a guy, like I said, his performance is not dependent on making shots because he does so many other things. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't want him establishing that. I do want him establishing the shot. But when he's on the floor, the offense flows better because he can dribble, pass, shoot, and cut. He reads the defense, and generally we get better possessions when he's out there.
Steve, I know he's not with you right now, but what have you thought about Gui Santos' development over the past year or so?
I'm a big fan of Gui's. He just knows how to play. He's versatile. He can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. One of our best cutters, and he's really working hard on his shot. He was 6 for 9 from 3 the other day in the G League victory a couple of days ago in Salt Lake, and that's the biggest thing for his own development is becoming a very consistent 3-point shooter.
Obviously, Andrew, a few games ago had that really big 31-point game. But what's as a coaching staff, maybe are you guys doing to try to help him have more games like that in coming days? Is there anything specific?
Nothing that's different from what we've been preaching, since camp began. It's be aggressive, be in rhythm, find your rhythm. But, when you're in a little bit of a shooting rut, the focus always should be on your defense and your energy, because that sort of tends to iron things out. And I think I'm really happy with the way Wiggs has been pushing himself defensively on the ball here the last couple of weeks, and he's definitely rounding into form.
You mentioned this earlier, I think last week, about Andrew, patience. You are a patient staff with Klay also. How hard is that in the middle of all this, or is it just do you get it from Pop, you get it from Phil, that these are long seasons, you go with a track record, but sometimes you do want to make, I think maybe you feel like changes are okay. How easy is that whole conversation?
Well, I think that having been a player myself, I always wanted my coaches to show confidence in me through a slump. And so I know how much that means to a player when a coach stands by you. And then we just won the championship a year and a half ago, with Wiggs and Klay playing a huge role. And obviously that 5-man unit that we talked about from last year, that started all last year, it's the best one in the league. That's a big sample size. So I'm really going to believe in that group and believe in those guys who have accomplished so much for a long time. And as a coach, it's just a matter of recognizing if you have to make a change of some sort. When is that juncture? When is that critical point in the season where, all right, we've seen enough and we got to do something different? So that's how every season goes with every team you're on, because the business ultimately is about winning. And if your team's winning, then you can keep doing what you're doing. If you're not winning, then eventually you got to make some decisions.
You mentioned the clarity still isn't quite there on this roster. There's 12 guys that could play, maybe even more. Could it be where you don't have a set rotation on the back end? You got maybe 4 guys and you play 2 of them or 3 of them a night, and you go with someone else, or would you be uncomfortable with something like that?
It's not ideal to do that. I mean, I think every player feels most comfortable when he knows exactly what his role is, and it's tough to play one game, not play the next. It's tough on the individual. It's tough on the team. So I would like to find a regular rotation, but again, it hasn't materialized to this point. Some of it is the injuries and the suspensions, and some of it is we just haven't been sharp, and some of it is that guys haven't quite separated themselves. So we have to just keep going and keep searching for the best version of ourselves, and it has to take shape.
How have you felt just about Moses Moody's season so far? And he's a guy who seems to take everything in stride. Like, have you always noticed this kind of maturity about him for his age?
Yeah, Moses is so mature. It's one of my favorite qualities that he has, just his ability to deal with whatever is thrown his way, and a lot has been thrown his way. We started him last game. He's played in a lot of different spots off the bench. He's played well, but he can play better. And so we're talking to him about the things he needs to improve on. But, he's in that mix where it's like we're trying to find the right combinations that satisfy, the two-way need, offense and defense, to every lineup. And so he's in that mix, and he's played very well, but nothing is set in stone for anybody at this point. We're trying to find those groups.
You've talked in the past about the importance of having 20 games at least, like that's kind of the first somewhat legitimate sample size. How do you view that kind of 20 game marker right now as a team that's very much figuring out its identity still?
I'll tell you in 3 games. We're not there yet.
You mentioned that, Saric is a guy who could play starting minutes, could play closing minutes. Obviously, he's played a lot of minutes recently. You also want to keep that 5-man lineup together. How I guess there's times you've broken up Draymond and
Right.
Looney. There's times you haven't. How dedicated are you? It's like, let's keep those 2 guys together for now.
Draymond and Loon?
Yeah.
Well, with Draymond coming back now, I'd like to see them together, and I'd like to see if we can get that 5-man unit, that starting unit, back to where they were a year ago, and that would be ideal. But we'll see. And if not, Dario is such a crucial player for us, given his skill set, especially being so different from Loon and Draymond. He can play with either guy. He can play the 4 or the 5, so he does give us the flexibility to make a change if we want to.
Your earlier answer to Tim about the back end of the rotation and how it's not ideal to change game to game, but what's sort of the practical maximum? I mean, is it 9? Is it 10? How high can you go in number of guys you're playing on a regular basis?
I think you can go to 10. We've done that in the past. My first couple of years we played 10 quite a bit because we had a lot of depth, and that's how I feel about this team. On the other hand, you have to feel comfortable with the groups that you have on the floor, and we're still searching for that. I think some of the groups that we have are, the ball doesn't move well enough. Some of them, maybe the defense isn't quite good enough. Others, you don't have the right mix of shooting and playmaking. So these are all things we're continuing to look at.
Not that it's relevant for this team, maybe, but what's the minimum? Is it 8? So it's 8 to 10, sort of the.
Eight's minimum for
Yeah.
me. I think 9 is a normal rotation. 9.5 is you get to the playoffs. Sometimes it becomes 8.5. But regular season, for me, it's always been 9 to 10.